Hello, Laura Perkins. Welcome to the interview.
Hello, nice to see you, Rob.
Hi, how are things with you?
Very good, thank you. It's November and we're getting ready for Christmas, so it's a busy time, but yeah, really good.
Yes, it's a few times as busy as now. And just before we get into the interview, let me get your job title right. Are you fundraising director at Young Women's Trust?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So I'm the director of fundraising. I've got a team of 4, and I guess I'm a bit of a jack of all trades, sort of doing quite a bit of corporate and major donor and high value giving, as well as my leadership role.
And so you came on the last Corporate Partnerships Mastery Programme that we organise at Bright Spot. And in a moment, I'd love for you to share a few top tips and a few principles you took from that programme and how you put them into practice. But just before we move into that bit, people come at different levels of their career, different stages. You're obviously pretty experienced, and I know you were successful before you came on the course in various areas of fundraising. But could you talk me through your rationale for coming on this program in the first place?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what was really interesting, actually. What I really wanted to do was make a step change in the corporate income that we were making at Young Women's Trust. We're a relatively new charity. We've only been around for 5 years and we'd never really had substantial corporate income before. I have done quite a bit of corporate fundraising in the past in previous charities, often for quite large charities. But I felt like the things that I was trying at Young Women's Trust weren't really quite given me the progress that I wanted. So I wanted to make a step change, and I thought actually coming on a course that was so immersive, learning from some other people would really help me focus and take a bit of a fresh approach to it and kind of unlock the potential that I thought the charity had. So although I feel like I did come with quite a lot of experience, I really wanted like a fresh approach.
Yeah, absolutely. That's sounds very familiar, because I talk to lots of people who are new to corporate partnerships, but quite often someone can be experienced but still wanting that step change, and that different perspective is a common reason to come. And before we get on to some of the particular tactics that you made such good use of, you know, there are various elements to this program. There's the training and the coaching and the online element, the films and the webinars. Which bits in particular were most helpful for you, do you think?
It's a really good question. Actually, I think it's the combination of all of them together meant that the learning I took away from the course was really cemented. I think the small group training, first of all, that we had 10 of us on this course, and all 10 of us attended all 4 of the training days with you, Rob. And it was so good to be able to get to know all the people in the group, learn about their causes. But because it was such a small group of 10, we all got to take on board what we were learning and practice it in real life on the day, and then also talk about it in between. I think meeting that peer group as well. I have to say, coming from a small charity that doesn't do any corporate fundraising at the moment, I sort of wondered how a course that involved me, but also, say, for example, someone from NSPCC or AGK, who I see as much bigger players, but actually sitting alongside them was such a good experience. In particular, I remember an example where I was feeling a bit shy about what Young Women's Trust could offer to a corporate, and a fantastic woman from Perkins now just really challenged me and just said, hang on a minute, why are you not saying that you can do all these things? This is what we do in our pitch. And it really gave me confidence. I thought, well, why not? So actually sitting across from them and having those conversations really gave me confidence as well. And then I'd say the coaching too. It just adds a huge amount of value to the course in itself, but also makes it really good value. I had 3 specific coaching calls where I was able to talk to one of the team about particular challenges that I was facing. So it meant that I didn't have to wait in between the training days. And I think that meant my learning and what I was testing outside of the training really helped. So yeah, I think.
Yeah, it's amazing how often people feel, it's not just having the strategies. Every bit as useful is accessing that part of the group, and the effect that has on your confidence to just get on and do what you were going to do anyway, but you're reassured by the other 2 people on your table. That's such a common thing people talk about, in addition to the more formal elements of the training and the strategies we offer. I guess my next question really, Laura, is I sensed you were, although in your job, you're looking after many different kinds of fundraising, so you couldn't devote all your time to corporate. But I still sensed you were managing to find time to implement certain things in between each training day or coaching call. And we haven't got time to talk about all of those, but I wonder if there are a couple of things you particularly remember going away and applying, and what happened.
So I think one of the first things we did in one of the first days was thinking about who our kind of dream supporter might be, our kind of avatar, marketing avatar. And I don't think we'd ever really thought about this. And I was lucky enough to actually use my charity as the example on the training day. So I had the opportunity to have 10 amazing corporate fundraisers help me develop my ideal woman, as it were, for us. That was brilliant, because then it just meant that when we went on to the next piece that we learned around focusing on a dream 10 prospect, I was able to be really, really clear. And I have to say, I'd kind of spent the last 18 months being quite broad about who I was prospecting and trying to sort of be really opportunistic. But that technique of drilling it down to people that would really want to appeal to my perfect avatar was brilliant. So we focused very much on like fashion and beauty, which sounds obvious, but we hadn't been as targeted as we could be. And I was also able to like take that back to my team. So I've got one other colleague who works on corporate with me, and got her to do a Dream 10, and it's really helped. She's got some amazing product partnerships now as a result of it. We've just had a recent one where a lovely company are going to do a scented candle for us, and it's really helped her think about her pitch and who she wants to approach. So she's excited about approaching lots of great, really cool fashion brands as a result.
That's great. So it wasn't just giving you the confidence in a particular strategy. It was also, it helped you to calmly and clearly pass on to your colleagues a way of working, which they were able to latch onto, which meant that they've been able to get on with things rather than you need to keep dipping in and getting involved all the time.
Absolutely, yeah. I was able to explain it really clearly to my colleague, and also because we were doing the training days spread over 6 months, I could sort of test that, have a go at it, play around with it before we did our training course again. So it was a really good way of like processing. One of the other ways that I think, one of the other techniques that really was a bit of a light bulb moment for me was like how we talked about reframing meetings. So there's a whole session in the course around that first meeting. You've got your foot in the door, you've been invited in to have the coffee with your dream corporate, and how you kind of set that meeting up to be a success. I have to say, you know, as much as you might be really skilled at relationship fundraising, it's still really hard to get the conversation going on the right way, especially when you want to talk about partnership work rather than just the check. And it was really useful to go through step by step over quite a long period of a morning in the trainings on how you reframe that. Sit with some of the other people in there and write out how you might do it in real life. And I had a meeting with a big fashion brand only a few days after that, and used all those techniques, and it gave me such a lot of confidence that we had such a good conversation as a result of it, and was able to hear and learn so much more about what their company wanted, and sort of didn't just get sidelined into talking about volunteering and how much money they were going to give me.
Well done on that, because it's such a common pitfall, isn't it, that even if we can get the cup of coffee meeting with a company, you're not out of the woods yet. It's so such a common pitfall that the meeting ends up going the way that most companies thought it would. Like you say, talking about volunteering, or them being nice to you and polite, but basically apologizing that you don't really match their criteria. So I guess we haven't got time to go into too much detail here, but within that, what was an idea or two that helped you change the frame and help them be more likely to take you seriously and start opening up more honestly?
So I think it was really about setting it out from the minute I arrived, that we were looking for a partnership, and it was about more than a financial partnership, but also trying to learn from them what their objectives were as a company and what challenges they had. And I think that really helped, and they really it really resonated with them. So it sort of set us up where we were a bit more equals in the conversation, rather than, as you say, getting a bit sidetracked into us being a sort of needy charity. And I think moving forward, it's also meant that in most of my meetings now, I just feel more of a confidence in being a valued partner, rather than, as you say, going with my begging bowl to hope that they'll give me something I like it at the end of it.
Yeah, and it's easy to say that, but it's a whole other thing to do it in practice, especially if a lot of one's fundraising experience has been more on the philanthropic side rather than the partnership side. It's quite a shift to get certainty in yourself and therefore be able to communicate it to the company that this isn't about please be kind to us. It genuinely is a win-win partnership. And I think that's one of the major shifts people tend to get early on in that course, is just finally emotionally understanding that this truly is valuable to the company. And therefore my job in that first meeting is to help the company see the potential of that. And I sensed across, from that very first day, you got much more willing and confident to help them see it that way.
Absolutely. So this particular fashion brand, throughout that meeting towards the end, I learned that they were getting quite a lot of pressure to have a sort of charity partnership that was as good as their counterpart in South Africa, and that actually they were quite inexperienced at this and they didn't know which way to go, and they were a bit worried about opening up to a sort of beauty parade. And actually what they really wanted was someone like me to show them how it could work and that I would be a safe pair of hands. And so it was so interesting that that's where we got to at the end of that conversation. That really that's what meant a lot to them, and I was able to then follow that up.
Yeah, and that again is an interesting element to it, because the big famous company can appear to be so confident and capable and with its enormous marketing budget and so on, but the reality is when it comes to talking about partnerships, they rarely are the expert. Usually we are or can be the expert on how you can make a win-win charity partnership work. So they need to be led, even if sometimes they don't even yet know that. I love that most people who come on this program develop the confidence and skill with which to put that frame across to them and helpfully lead them through that process. Now, sometimes it doesn't work out that a partnership is suitable between these two organizations, but nevertheless, for the charity to be more on the front foot and willing to lead, rather than just react to what the company appears to think it wanted.
Absolutely. So another really good example, and something that you learn a lot about on the first day of the course, is about trying to get those coffees with companies and lots of imaginative ways to do it. And actually, it doesn't have to be rocket science. I had an email while I was doing the course, and another advantage of the course is that because it's over 6 months, you get to deal with real life examples. I had a great company called Accessorize, who, as lots of you will know, do lovely accessories on the high street. They emailed me to ask for our charity accounts. Obviously, I could have just sent them back, but because of what we'd been learning, I picked up the phone and got a meeting with them instead, and had a really great conversation with them, and realised that they were looking for someone to partner with for Christmas. And I'm delighted that after building that relationship with them, they are now going to be selling some Christmas decorations for us this Christmas. I think they launched this week, which is brilliant. But it honestly was because I sort of made the effort to pick up the phone, have that conversation, rather than just sending them what they'd asked me for. So another really good example of putting something into practice.
Many congratulations. That's another great win. So obviously it's a big topic. That's why it's a 6-month course. But if there were one or two other ideas or principles that you found especially helpful, what might they be?
I think later in the course it gets quite interesting because it gets much more detailed about what Rob calls the magic formula, like how to really pitch yourself, not just in a formal sense, but more flexible, how you can put together your pitch for different situations. So I think what's really useful, you don't just come out with a pitch document, you come out with kind of the tools to adapt it to different audiences. I think I put this into practice particularly in combination with the coaching. So over the summer, when I was doing the course, we got approached by a big beauty brand called Olay. It was so exciting, definitely as a result of us being more focused on the beauty sector. but I felt really well prepared to like respond to it. So I went along and met them in person as many times as I could, and then really shaped that meeting based on the kind of magic formula, which is really about knowing and understanding your true value as a charity and what you bring to the situation, and kind of backing it up with social proof and evidence. And so I had all those bits there. It wasn't a formal pitch, but I was able to kind of use it in drip those things into the conversation. And as a result, they were really keen to work with us, but they're a big brand and they had a lot of people involved in the negotiation, and it really did get down to quite a deep conversation about value. And I was able to go back to my coach, which was also part of the course, and talk in detail specifically about how to negotiate with Olay. And as a result, we've got a 6-figure partnership with them, which is going to be over the course of the next year. And it's by far the biggest corporate partner we've had as a charity. And it really was due to sort of being able to use the learning in real time and put that into practice.
Right, huge congratulations, Laura,
Yeah,
because
we're really excited.
theory is one thing, and small numbers and maybe organisations which are less publicly visible and have less at stake is one thing. But to successfully negotiate with such an impressive and famous brand as that is quite some doing. So many congratulations. Let's finish very soon, but I guess, was there any one particular angle that you're pleased with about how you handled that negotiation? You know, I'm delighted that both parties wanted it to make it happen, and you both found ways to come to an agreement. But is there any? It's not for the faint-hearted. Any other you found interesting that helped you create something that's so valuable for both parties?
I think one of which was how much work I'd already done on our value as a charity. So I think it was really interesting that when I went into the course, I thought that I needed real life case studies of partnerships we had to secure big partnerships. And I just learned, actually, there's lots of evidence out there and lots of other examples. And also you can be really confident in your own value, and you can reach 6-figure partnerships even if you haven't got one previously to show. I think in negotiation, it was actually just that detail, that opportunity to talk through with my coach different things that they might like, you know, where's this, he's, you know, the person I'm talking to is going to be worried about their marketing budget, where it's going to come from, what sign-off's going to happen. So it is a 6-figure partnership, but it's got lots of interesting things involved in it, like match funding and fundraising and different pieces as well. And I think being imaginative like that was really good at persuading them to come around and sort of go a bit bigger and more ambitious with us as well.
Yeah. Very well done. So my last couple of questions is, if there were one more tip, idea or principle that you may not have mentioned yet, for the viewer who's interested in corporate partnerships and improving their skills, just a content from the course or content from something to do with corporate partnerships fundraising you've discovered. Any last idea that you'd like to share?
Yeah, of course. There were so many, but I think actually what I really learned was about good habits and actually how important that kind of repetition is. So there were lots of things that you learn on every day, things like focus, like helping you motivate, things you can do in your day-to-day life to keep your spirits up. We know that corporate fundraising in particular involves lots of no's, but also lots of exciting stuff too. So lots of ways where I changed some of my habits, quite small things, but actually made a big difference. First of all, in me feeling like I could cope with my workload, but also that it was quite exciting what I was doing, not something that was going to like demoralize me every day. So a good example was, you know, the time of day when you do your corporates, like trying to put into practice time in your diary when you're going to go and do those new business calls or make those approaches sort of more in the morning. It was around things like repeating something, going for the coffees and making sure that you take some action from it. It was also about not being demoralized if partnerships don't end up being 6-figure sums. And actually, like if someone gives you, commits to £5,000 over the course of the next 6 months, see that as an opportunity to be paid to develop a better relationship with them. So that next time you talk about it, you can go for, you know, 7,500 or 10,000. And actually that is such a win in itself. So, yeah, I think it was about changing habits, and mindset was one of the big pieces that I learned from the course as well.
That's really like the phrase you used there of seeing that sum, that 5,000 or whatever it is, as effectively being paid to better develop this. Even if we don't make masses of profit, we're making something, and it's enough to enable us to enjoy developing it further, which is, I think, different from some charities would see it, if they've got a rigid notion of if it's not worth 10K, then we're not doing it. For the right partner, seeing it that way, that's a paradigm shift, I think, compared to the way many charities see it.
Definitely. And that was a big shift in my mindset as well, because I was always looking a little bit, if it's only 5K, is it worth our resource? We're only a small charity. And you're absolutely right. It has to be for the right partner where you think there is still potential. But yeah, I think that was a big shift in my head. It was like, okay, don't look at it as glass half full. Look at it as in, you've got 6 months now to be raising £5,000, which is not to be sniffed at. That is absolutely like a decent partnership for us, to develop something new. And if at the end it doesn't happen, okay, you've got to clock it up for experience, but actually it's a really good opportunity.
Yeah. Oh, well said. So I guess finally, sometimes, I talk to lots of fundraisers who are keen to come on this program, but inevitably, often it comes down to budget. And if a budget exists at all, you've still got to go and persuade with fervour your colleague that you honestly think it's going to make a difference. If someone's in that boat, they're just trying to weigh up, can I go and somehow get my organisation to take this seriously? What would you say to them?
Oh, it's a really good question, because we're a small charity too. So this was a big investment for us, and it did take me quite a lot of negotiation to get that budget released. I think really for me, there's a couple of things. I was really surprised at how well suited the course was to all the different people in it. So I'm the director of fundraising, who's got quite a bit of corporate experience already, but I was in the room with other people who do 100% corporate fundraising in really big charities, and I know that all of us got a lot out of it, regardless of where we were. So in that sense, I think it's very well suited. It's really tailored. I got to do a lot of practical work on the course and in between, which really helped shift what we do. And I think as well, it's really instilled a lot of habits in me, and also habits that I've passed on to my team that are going to last well beyond the course. So unlike a conference, for example, where you jot down loads of things, but you probably don't have enough time to put into practice, I actually feel like I've built up quite a bank now of good habits I'm hoping I'll take forward in the future.
Thank you for saying that. And indeed, I think that these fabulous results you've been getting are testament to the fact that you didn't just come on the course, think it was interesting, and then go away again. Busy though you are, hats off to you. You made time to go and in between each course or each training day or each coaching call and implement something, at least something, and often several things. And that's where you are now, and it's really paying you back. So I look forward to speaking again sometime next year and hear the next installment. Huge congratulations, Laura, on your recent considerable victories, and as ever for all the amazing work you do for young women. It's a fabulous thing your charity is doing. Thank you for your time today, and we'll talk again another time.
Great, thank you, Rob.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.